Welcome to Aromatic Bangladeshi Kitchen. I'm Parveen. Today I have a guest with me, James Yu. He's gonna show me how to make a Japanese pancake, right?
Yep, so we're doing a it's fluffy Japanese souffle pancake that was originated in Tokyo, Japan back in 2014. So there are a lot of ingredients on here, but don't be afraid of it because these are all items that you can find in your home. You know, first we start off with powdered sugar, that's gonna be for garnish. We have some baking powder. We have some honey, a little bit of gin, and that's gonna come up later. We have milk. We have some flour, sugar, 2 eggs, a little bit of pink Himalayan salt, butter, ginger, mint, and a little bit of orange.
Okay.
And then we also have vanilla extract for a little bit of extra flavor.
Okay.
All right? So the first thing we're going to do is the most important thing about making this pancake is having the meringue. The meringue is the most important part because it's going to give that really fluffiness, the airy, the bubbles that's gonna make your pancakes extremely light, decadent, and also extremely flavorful. So most of the flavor is gonna be coming from the eggs, and we're also going to finish off today with a little bit of a twist on the crêpe Suzette sauce. So we're going to make a little bit of orange with a little bit of mint, ginger, and a little bit of gin. So that's gonna be in our sauce.
Okay.
All right, so to start off, we have our dry ingredients. So we're gonna mix our dry ingredients together first before we go into our wet ingredients. So I'm actually gonna grab a teaspoon. We're gonna start off with a tablespoon of flour in our small bowl.
You know, when you said pancake, I was thinking a lot of flour, but it's not really a lot of flour then.
No, not as much. With these type of pancakes, most of the volume comes from the egg meringue. So when you separate the eggs itself, the meringue will give that extra lift. Now, most of the time when you have something that has so much air in it, it is going to deflate when it gets cold. So that's why we have baking powder.
Baking powder.
What baking powder is a leavening agent that's going to allow the pancake to remain its shape as it cools. So we're gonna add a quarter of a teaspoon of baking powder. Just right in. Now, we're going to add a tablespoon of milk. Just right in. Now we're using baking powder today instead of baking soda. Mostly because baking powder has a added acid to it. So the difference between baking powder and baking soda is that baking powder has something called monocalcium phosphate, which is an acidic compound that combines with the sodium bicarbonate. So a lot of people don't know the difference between sodium bicarbonate and baking soda is the same thing.
Oh, that's...
The baking soda plus monocalcium phosphate is the thing that's going to make your cakes, your biscuits, your bread.
Fluffy.
Exactly. All right. We're going to add a little bit of honey. I'll grab a spoon.
You can use that one.
So I like to put a little bit of honey in almost everything I cook just because it adds a really nice reminder that it's sweet. And honey itself has a really nice flavor, so it's going to have a really nice undertone. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to separate our eggs. Now, there's many ways to separate your eggs. My favorite way to do so is just crack it over the bowl and use the 2 half shells. Now, we're separating the eggs because when we have a meringue, we cannot have any of the yolk in there. Because that would not allow the actual
color.
It won't allow the meringue to actually fluff up. So today we're actually looking for a stiff peak. Now this is one of the hardest part in terms of making anything in the oven, any type of cakes, because making a meringue with no experience, you won't have a proper meringue. A lot of time it's going to split, but it's okay because I tell everyone, meringues are hard to do and it comes with experience.
Sure.
All right, so we have our dry ingredients with a little bit of egg yolk. We're gonna add a pinch of the sea salt. Now you wanna add salt to everything because when you add salt to all of your sweets, your savory, whatever you're cooking, baking, the most important thing is salt, because with salt, it brings out the flavor to everything that you're cooking. So this is gonna add and really bring the flavors to life.
Sure.
All right, and then next what we're going to do is we're going to start beating our egg whites. Now, a lot of times that people will add cream of tartar to their sugar, to their egg whites,
I got them.
because with cream of tartar, it's actually an acid. So when you add cream of tartar to a meringue, together with something basic such as baking soda, it's going to create a lot of carbon dioxide inside the finished product. So that's what makes everything fluffy. So that chemical reaction is what we're trying to chase. Now today we were using baking powder. Baking powder already has the acidity inside the powder itself, so we don't need to do anything else but to add sugar. Now when we're making the meringue, one of the things that I was taught when I was growing up is grab your towel, wrap it around in a circle, and then put the bowl on top. The reason behind that is that when you're beating the meringue with your electric beater or even by hand, it's not going to move around. And you have another free hand to add the sugar in. So we're going to gradually add the sugar in as we beat. So we're going to start on low. If you start on high, what's going to happen is it's going to splash everywhere. It's not very fun to clean up, trust me. And then at about this stage, you want to start adding your sugar. You don't want to add it at the beginning because sugar will actually draw out the liquid of the egg yolks. So what's going to happen is it's going to separate.
You want to add it slowly.
You want to add it slowly so it incorporates into the egg whites. And then we're just really looking for the right consistency when it comes to making a meringue. There's different type of peaks when it comes to making a meringue. There's soft peaks and there's also stiff peaks. We're doing stiff peaks today. Now you don't want to over mix your meringue because it's going to start separating and it becomes clumpy. And that won't have a very good texture to your finished product. And you can start seeing the ribbons in the meringue. So we know we're close. Making a meringue is really fast when you have a machine. I used to make meringue by hands because I didn't have one of these.
Back then we never had this.
No.
These days life's coming so easier.
I know. We're spoiled. All right. So you see it's starting to ribbon. So this is called the ribbon stage.
Okay, good.
We're going to add a little bit more sugar. And you see how beautiful it is. So when the meringue is done, you can see how glossy the outside is. And that's when you know you can start checking, right? Now I'm gonna start checking how the consistency. And this is what they're called a soft peak. So we're not there yet, we're gonna keep going. So we're very close. You can do this in a stand mixer, but I don't really recommend it because your meringue finishes so fast. See? Yeah, and that becomes a stiff peak, right? Now I like to go a little bit longer because we're going to be mixing this together. So while that's resting, it will lose some of its form. So I like to go a little bit further. And just like that, now we have stiff peaks. We're essentially going to bake these souffle pancakes inside the pan itself. So it's very important to use a non-stick pan because, well, you can't flip it.
Right.
We're not going to add any butter. We're not going to add any oil, any grease into the pan itself. We're just going to let this cook on a very low heat, very gentle. And it's going to take a little bit longer than your average pancake. Even if you don't have the patience to do this, this will still yield an incredible fluffy pancake. So if you don't want to go through the entire process and wait, if you put this mixture into the pan and make a pancake, it's going to be the softest pancake you've ever had. All right. So now that we're mixing all of this together, now what we're going to do is
Basically, you put honey, egg, flour, and then sugar on there, right? No sugar. And
there's
milk.
there's no sugar in
milk.
this mixture. There's milk in this mixture.
Yes.
No, there's sugar in the meringue because the actual granules of the sugar will help the meringue
To-
form and it gives it that shape. And the one thing that's very important with meringues is it's very delicate. It's essentially 80% air currently right now. And what we're going to do is instead of mixing everything together and using the whisk, we had to use the folding motion. Now what I like to do is I like to take some of the meringue, probably about a quarter of it, put it into your heavier and denser mixture, and I like to mix it up together. So what this does is it's going to start lightening up the mixture itself, so when you're folding into the meringue, it's much easier to fold.
Okay.
And we don't want to put everything and whisk it together because what's going to happen is it's going to start deflating the meringue and your fluffy pancake becomes regular pancakes. All right, so now that this is mixed together, we're just going to mix them all into one bowl. Make sure we get everything. One thing I was taught when I was growing up is never to waste food.
Yes.
So making sure that we clean our bowls. Thank you very much. Now, when you're folding in meringue, the most important part is using your wrist, right? You really want to get into it, right? You don't want to be mixing like you're mixing, I don't know. I don't think you will make anything like this, like mixing concrete, but you want to be gentle. You want to be going all the way into the bottom and fold in.
Make sure it's mixed together, everything mixed.
Exactly. So that will have that really nice flavor to everything. So now that it's mixed together, we can start cooking, right? It's on low heat.
It's on low.
We're gonna bring it up just a little bit. And we're gonna cook this on with a lid. So the lid itself will allow the pancake to steam. Now part of the steaming process is having water. So we prepared a little cup of water here. So while this is heating up, we're going to heat up this pan as well.
I'm gonna turn it on. So I think this one. Let's see. I'll fill it up.
This right here.
Yeah.
And then
You want to do it on low heat?
we're gonna do this on medium. So the
Okay.
sauce itself, it's going to start off with some orange zest. So before, I would use a little microplane to start zesting this, but since we're looking for a more creamy, kind of a uniform consistency, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a peeler, and I'm just going to peel some of the skin from the orange. And what that's going to do is all that oil from the skin of the orange will start to diffuse into our mixture. And towards the end, we can just take it out in big chunks. And then we're going to put some ginger in there as well.
Ginger also very healthy. Like I see you use honey and ginger. This is these days for COVID. A lot of people using it.
I mean, I always keep ginger around the house with me, whether that's making a drink for my partner or, cooking, putting into food, making myself tea. I mean, ginger is, I grew up with ginger when I was in Taiwan. We always had ginger at home. And, on a cold winter's day or when we're cold, we always have ginger tea.
Like back home, my grandma, when we are coughing, you have to drink ginger tea.
Yeah, that's
Hot tea with ginger, and it goes away.
it does. I don't know if it's superstitious or whatever.
So you are using honey now?
I'm gonna put the rest of the honey in here.
Okay. So you put the ginger, skin from orange.
And then we're going to use the juice of
The orange.
citrus. Now before I cut this open, I actually rolled the orange a little bit.
So
the
it
idea
makes
is that
squished,
correct. It gets the juice started. So I'm just gonna right inside into the pan. And depending on how much you're serving, I'm only using half an orange today.
Okay.
Now, one of the most important things when you're squeezing fresh orange juice is don't over squeeze it. because if we over squeeze it, the bitterness from the rinds of the orange will
gonna
get
come
into
out.
the
Yep.
yeah, and it's no bueno. Then we're gonna add a little bit of butter. Now I'm only adding one small knob of butter, just because when we're finishing the sauce, it's going to keep going. We're gonna keep adding butter slowly, so it emulsifies a lot easier. All right, and then now this is warm enough for us to use. I'm gonna start putting the pancake mixtures inside. Now, usually you can use a ring mold for inside your pan. I actually don't have any, so I tape some wax paper together.
That's very smart.
Resourceful. And this should just be enough for 2 pancakes. Okay, so now that this is done, we're going to start adding some water into the pan. This will start the steaming process. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave it alone. And we're going to cover it. And then we're just going to let that steam. Now, my cooking, my method of cooking is very nonchalant. You know, this is me being good by measuring, but at home I just dump everything into a pot.
Same thing with me.
Yeah.
I always never measure it. I just put it in whatever I think it's right.
Yeah, I mean,
measurement.
at the end of the day, when you're measuring something, it's not always going to be correct because things will have different densities, things will have different consistencies. So we're going to finish up the sugar. And then we're going to add a little bit of powdered sugar in there. The idea behind that is we are going to use the powdered sugar to thicken up the sauce.
Okay.
And then we're going to leave the rest for garnish. So right now the sauce is getting all the flavor.
From the ginger and the
exactly.
orange.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to finish up with a little bit of gin.
Okay.
And we're going to flambe the sauce itself. That's going to help burn off the alcohol. Let me grab my lighter. Stand back a little bit.
Okay.
We add the gin inside.
Ooh.
And that's going to light that on fire. So that's going to slowly burn off the alcohol, but help the sugar inside the mixture caramelize. And also it's going to help burn off everything that is unpleasant, essentially. So we're just going to let that go by itself, and then we really just wait. Now that it's been cooking for a while, the best way to test it is, taking your finger, just touch the top. And if you don't get anything on your hand, that means it's done.
That means it's done. Okay.
Now what we're going to do is we're just going to
flip it out. Okay.
It's very nice and light. And then we're going to put it back on the heat with a little bit of water. And we're going to let that finish. Now, while it's finishing cooking,
we're
going to finish up the sauce too. So we're going to take out all the big chunks from the sauce here, because all the flavors has already been infused. Now it's time for us to finish. Now here's where the vanilla comes in. I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla to finish. Now I'm adding it at the end because it adds a really nice flavor to it. When you cook vanilla for a long time, it gets bitter.
Flavors goes.
It gets a little bit too bitter. And then of course, don't forget a pinch of salt. And here I've just cut out some oranges. So these are orange supremes. It doesn't have any of the bitter rinds in there. We're just gonna finish that in there. So let that warm up, and we're gonna serve that together with the pancakes.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do while that it is finishing up, we're going to start adding our butter. It's a very rich and decadent sauce.
Looks good.
We're going to whisk that in. And we're just going to let this thicken up just a little bit. And then what we're going to do is finish it with cold butter. And that's going to stop the cooking process. So it doesn't get too mushy or too bitter. So now that this is thick enough, we're going to turn off the heat, and we're going to cool it down with some butter. And you notice there's no butter actually in the pancake itself,
Yep.
because it's all in the sauce. We're going to finish that up. And this is good for anyone, for kids too, because the alcohol has burned off, so there's actually not any trace of alcohol in there. Pancakes are done. What we're going to do is we're going to just take them out of the pan.
That looks good also. James, can you use like cover? You know how you can get the muffin cover on the supermarket? Can you use those? No, because you need to have something on the bottom, right?
Correct. The idea is that we want to have the top and the bottom
on
exposed,
the pan. Okay.
So that the actual pancake can cook on both sides. So as we see here, once I'm taking off the wax paper, you can see how jiggly it is.
Yes.
So that's because all the baking powder and the meringue made it so that jiggles.
Floppy, yeah.
Yeah, jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. So that's the Instagram shot. That's what we call it. That's what the kids call it today. We're gonna finish it with powdered sugar. Now you can feel free to add some fruit to it. You can add blueberries. You can add raspberries, blackberries. It is winter, so it's kind of winter. But it's November, so they're not in season. So today we're just gonna do a really nice warm orange sauce.
You need a spoon?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Guess I'm here. All right, we're gonna leave that inside, and then we're just gonna dust in some powdered sugar. And just gently right on top.
That really looks good. Looks delicious.
And what we're going to do is we're going to finish it up with the sauce on the side. So whether or not we want the sauce, we have the option to do so. And we're just going to use the little bit of mint, garnish it on top, and there is your Japanese pancake.
So I'm going to show something totally different, but it's same flour. We use sugar, flour, and different spice. This is in United States, everybody knows as a pakora, but in Bangladesh we call it's Jhaal Pua. So I am going to introduce you what type of spice and vegetable I'm going to use. So I'm showing, I have some tomatoes, and then this is salt, and I have some sugar, and the only spice I'm using here just the turmeric. And then I chopped some potatoes, really small pieces. I will show. I'm showing it to you right now. It's like this small pieces, and then I have chopped onion. Here, little chili, Thai chili. I chopped it really small pieces. Thai chili is optional. If you want to use it, you can use it. If you don't want, if you don't like spicy, you don't have to use it. You can just use the vegetable. And then I have some spinach, and I cut cabbage. So like a small pieces cabbage. You can just like shred it like that. Shred small piece. And then I have flour, and then I have a rice flour. But if you want, if you're not finding any rice flour, if you don't have it at home, you can just use the flour, only flour. You don't need to. The rice flour makes it like crispy to make this pakora. So now I'm gonna start. First, I'm gonna put the stove on so I can heat up the oil. And then
do you have it on high heat, medium heat?
Medium.
Medium?
Medium heat is good. And now I'll show you what I'm mixing here. So for this is a half cup. You can measure like whatever you want. If you don't want that much, you don't have to. So I'm gonna do like flour, and then for half cup flour, you don't want to do same amount of rice flour because it's going to be then hard. So you want to use like quarter. Okay, so because the rice flour makes it crispy, but it could make it your pakora really hard, so it doesn't make like really soft. So I'm gonna use like little bit of rice flour, not even half quarter cup, and little less than quarter cup. Okay, then now I'm gonna use, like you said, salt. Always
use salt.
You have to use salt. But in the pakora, I'm using little bit of sugar. So this is like half teaspoon sugar I'm gonna use.
Do you always use white sugar, or do you substitute it for brown sugar?
You can use brown sugar too, white sugar, brown sugar, but I think white sugar is easier. I always have it at home. So like half, and then I'm going to do another half teaspoon. So it's like full teaspoon on sugar. Then I'm doing like turmeric. If you don't have it home, you don't have to use it. The whole reason this is makes the color nice, and also these days turmeric is good for your health. You know, a lot of people use the tablet to have it,
like
and
this
then
turmeric tea. You know.
Yeah, and then tomatoes. Let me show you. It's like a little cube. You want to make it really small pieces so it's mixed with your flour. So I'm gonna put everything. It's like a half tomatoes here, and then I'm using the sugar, salt. Salt is like quarter teaspoon, not too much.
Now, should we be heating up the oil while you're preparing that right now?
Yes, you can.
How much oil am I putting in?
You can put half of it. Yeah.
Now, is this going to be a deep fry?
Deep fry.
Okay.
You can put little more. Okay, good. That's good. And if you can put the heat little bit up.
A little bit more.
Yeah, so it gets faster.
Like medium high. Now, what should the oil temperature be around?
Really hot.
Really hot?
Yeah. That way, when I'm frying, I'm gonna make it medium. But right now, I want to make it really hot. So when I put it in, it become the crispy.
Got it.
So then I'm using the cabbage. If you want, you can use any other vegetable too. But the cabbage is like makes it really soft. And then.
Now, how do you prepare the cabbage? Do you boil them before?
No, it's like a raw. All the vegetable is raw. It's like I did not. I just cut them slice like that. I didn't do anything. Just raw vegetable. So the potato actually, I'll show you. It's the thinner the piece is better because then it's cooked faster because the oil heat. It's look at. I'll show you like really thin. This is really thin. So it's like and I have like half potatoes, not like full potatoes. If you don't have potatoes, you can do it without that too.
But it has a really nice crunch to it.
Yes,
right?
yes. And the onions, whatever you want to put it in. I cook like half onions here, so everything is there. And then cilantro also optional because cilantro gives you the little bit of smell like
it's very fresh.
Yes,
it gives you a really nice. But interestingly enough, a lot of people who eat cilantro don't have the genes to taste it, or I think either taste it or not taste it. So they, instead of tasting the aroma of cilantro, they taste soap instead.
I use most of the time cilantro just when I'm cooking fish. I use cilantro because it takes the fish smells away. And this is a Thai chili. I'm just gonna give like maybe 1 or 2. You don't need to put it in because a lot of people don't like spicy food.
Yeah.
So
I know Thai chili is one of the spicier ones.
Yes,
right?
it's really spicy. So and this is some spinach. I'm gonna put it in.
I'm excited.
That's
I love
it.
spicy food.
It's look at this dish. It's all healthy, like all vegetable. Some of us we don't like to cook vegetable at home, so this is another way to eat vegetable. Like you don't have to eat it with dinner or anything. Let's say some guest came in and you want to make something quick. This is it.
It's nice and healthy.
Nice and healthy too.
I don't remember the last time I went to the gym.
Now I'm going to mix it with the water. So water, you have to like look at it and see how much water. And sometime if you want to put a little bit of oil in there. So if you want to mix it with oil, you can mix it with oil too, a little bit. If you can give me, I'm going to put a little bit of it.
Can I take this away?
Yeah. Maybe I need a little more. Let's see.
Here.
Hold on. So you want to mix it.
So is this the right consistency?
It have to be a little bit thicker, but let me see, because after I mix all my flour, let me see, maybe I need to put a little. You will know, because if it's too light, it's not gonna get in the water. It's gonna mix all the oil. It's gonna make really soundy. So I want to put a little bit of flour.
So it should be thicker, right?
Thicker, yeah, it have to be thicker. So maybe a little more flour. It's just fine flour. You can get it from the supermarket. You can use that fine flour.
Just the all-purpose one, right?
All-purpose one. And I might use a little bit salt, because it look like I have a lot of vegetable in it. So I'm going to use a little more salt, because otherwise, no taste.
No taste.
Salt always makes taste on the food. If you want, like, you can mix it and you can put it in your freeze. Then whenever you want, you can just make it like 2 or 3. And if you mix it up like this, and it stays in the freeze for like at least 3-4 days, and you can fry it whenever you want to eat it. Feel like eating it, you can just fry them. And for frying, you can use corn oil, olive oil, vegetable oil, whatever oil you use, you can use it. Don't have to be canola oil. These days, we are a lot of health conscious, so you can use whatever oil you use at home.
Just
So
make sure
this
if you're frying, you have to make sure that the smoking point is not too low,
Right.
or else the smoke's not good for you.
And look,
looks great.
it looks really good, and it doesn't take too long. If you have like in fruit processor, all these vegetable, you can just cut it on fruit processor, and it takes like very easy to. Don't take too long to cut it, because sometimes when we use it at home with the knife and stuff, it takes little time. But if you use fruit processor, it's faster to cut the. So now I'm gonna do it. If you want, you can like mix it and leave it. For sometimes people use baking soda, but you don't need to. You can use egg if you want, but when you use egg, it doesn't come crunchy. It's like really soft. So
The protein in the egg will make it, softer and more chewy, right?
So now I'm gonna just put it in the. Okay, I hope it doesn't. Be careful when you're putting it in, because you don't want.
So now notice that you laid the food away from you. So
Yes.
when you put it in, it doesn't splash
It doesn't.
on you, right?
Yes.
We wanted to reduce casualties in the kitchen, right?
Right. So if you you'll know, like, see. I'm just flipping them right now, so you'll see how it looks.
That looks great. Now, how long should they be in the oil for?
It depends. So you'll know when it's cooked. You'll see it's like brownish coming out. Like, see how it is.
So kind of just wait until it's golden.
Yeah, like it became like brownish and golden.
Now, when you eat this, do you eat it with a sauce on the side? Do you eat it on its own?
I use ketchup, and then you can use any kind of like sweet and sour sauce, ketchup, anything. If you don't want any of the sauce, you can just eat it like this. Okay, so now see, you have to like flip it couple times. So
it cooks evenly.
Yeah, it cooks evenly, and you want to make sure whatever vegetable you put it in, like potato takes a little longer to cook, and then I had like spinach, I had cabbage, so you want to make sure everything is cooked inside. You want to do it on the medium heat first, so just it's cooked inside the vegetable and the flour when we put it in. So
I'm very excited to try this.
And when you're flipping, sometimes it gets stuck together, so you can just separate them with your spoon.
Or somebody can have a really big piece.
Yes. Or somebody can have really big.
Now, how long do you usually keep in the oil for?
It does not take too long, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. You'll see. As soon as it's becoming like, see how brownish it is? And then look at the color, it's kind of yellow because I put turmeric on there. So that's the color from there. And then it's when it's done, you will see it's like really, really brownish. So you'll know all the flour and vegetable is cooked already.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And if you have like a deep fryer at home, you can do it also in the deep fryer.
Can you use the air fryer?
You can, yeah. Air fryer, you don't need to use this much oil also. So, see, I'm keep flipping them, so I don't want them to burn, but I want them to cook. So that's why.
That looks incredible.
When we see this thing, we think it's so hard to cook, but when you're cooking, it's not that hard. It's really easy. It just you have to know what to mix it and what spicy to use, so it give you the flavor, and you will get the flavor of it. So mine is almost done. I can start taking them out.
So the point is, don't be afraid to cook.
Yes.
The worst thing that can happen is you're gonna burn your food or it's not gonna taste good. So try again.
It's always good to cook at home. It's healthier.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stuff, if you don't need to use, like you can just avoid them.
Yeah.
So I'm almost done. I'm gonna take some of them out.
Now you're draining it on the paper towel so it doesn't soak up the oil.
My pakora is done. Pakora or Jhaal Pua, and I decorated with some carrot. It's very tasty, and James, thank you for making this. It's really looking really good. That's also Japanese pancake, right?
Yeah.
It didn't take him so long to make it. Yeah, I think he made it really nice and easy for us. Thank you so much for coming to my show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and thank you for watching. See you next time.